The big three, Bronx Science, Stuyvesant, and Brooklyn Tech, those are legacy schools. When I say legacy schools, it's not that, oh, my father went to Stuyvesant, therefore I will go to Stuyvesant and my child will go to Stuyvesant. No, it's not like that. What I mean is that they've been around for a long time. They are recognized names. You have to earn your way in and you have to earn your way out. The great thing about that is that these schools, they have a really strong alumni network. That connection is really, really strong. This is like the Ivy League, basically, for the rest of us.
Okay. Being in this community, we are locked. We are limited. We cannot do nothing about it. We try to do the best that we can with the test for the specialized high school because that's the only chance that we may have to move on and go into the good school.
Listen, if I had a choice, I would restructure the whole system. The school not necessarily has to be the best performance school. It has to be the best school for your child and the best school for his needs. We don't have this option here. We just have bad schools and we have good schools, and good schools are so limited.
So you have too few good schools in New York City. At the same time, you have a huge segregation. Back in the 60s and certainly into the 70s, the issue was the number of white students versus the number of Black and Hispanic students who were at specialized schools. That debate has been transformed by the fact that the Asian population in New York City has expanded exponentially. It was an important issue when I was a student 50 years ago. It's still an important issue today. The question becomes, what's the nature of that problem? What's the solution?
I want to make a difference. I don't want to be the average, not to say this, but the average Black female in New York. I want to be different. I just want to change a lot of things, and I want to have a better career in my life.
To me, Lorella is still growing up, and she has a lot of growing to do. Being the youngest of a family where there's 14 years apart, her siblings, she's trying to keep up with them and looking for an identity for herself.
Well, my sister, Lauren, so she kind of put thoughts in my head that helped me to decide what kind of high school I would like to go to. She was talking to me about high school and stuff because I had a lot of questions, and she was like, don't go to a school that's in the hood or something. It could still be in Manhattan, but somewhere nice.
She's a good person, good heart, very caring, and when she applies herself, she can achieve. It's just getting her to do that,
You have to think ahead when you're choosing a high school. If I go to a bad school, then I'm not gonna have a good life. If I go to a good school, I'll have a great career, a great future ahead of me. The high schools at Stuyvesant, once you get in, it's you feel accomplished, they said, and I hope I get into one of them.
My name is Ari. I go to Kristen McAuliffe I-97 Middle School, and I'm 12 years old. It was pretty hard to get into the school. There was a lot of pressure on me, and I had a lot of tutors and a lot of work. Going to school with a bunch of people that are studying as well is harder, but better. It's harder because it gives me a sense that there's so much competition against me, but then it sort of comforts me because I know I'm not the only one studying this hard, and I'm not the only one that really wants to get into a good school.
I'm very happy that my kids were born in this country and they have all the opportunities that I did not have growing up, that my parents had to bring me here to obtain.
My mom immigrated from a different country, and for her, if she didn't have an education, she would be nowhere right now. And she keeps stressing me how hard she studied and how important education is for her.
My brother is more of a business type of person. He likes business and more into the financial world, and I'm kind of in the arts world. So yeah, we're heading different ways, that's for sure.
For me, I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing pushing them so hard. On the other hand, I don't have a choice, because if I don't push them that hard and they don't get into the good schools and good high school and eventually good colleges, then, we'll be failures.
My name is Farjana, and I'm from Asia, from Bangladesh. My parents moved here for the education system. Not all women back in Bangladesh go to college. The ones who are in the villages, they don't have that opportunity. My mom was like, it's time for a change.
আমি আমার বাচ্চা পালছি আমার তো এটা হার নাই আমার এনজয় লাগছে আমার বাচ্চা পালছি আমার এটা my life just my 3 daughters.
At school, I'm really trying to get those A+, trying to be an honor roll, to be valedictorian. I have to get into a good high school, and right now my school offers a program where we get to go to Stuyvesant, a specialized high school, and get tutored. So I'm taking that opportunity and I'm studying to get into Stuyvesant.
So I've been usually doing about 8 hours a week, or maybe a little more than an hour a day of just test prep and studying.
Inyaki's he's a good student, he's a strong student. But there's so many good, strong students out there. And that's not to say that he won't make it, that's just to say that the competition is immense.
I want to go to a high school where some of my friends are going, and I know many of my friends are really smart and they're going to get into specialized high schools. So I want to go to those schools, the good schools, the good schools.
Are you guys reading 12:9 now? Is that what I see on your desk?
I mean, we were reading it before we saw the play. Name 12 Shakespeare plays. Quick, 1 minute.
Okay, you're timing me?
Yes.
Okay, Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Othello, Macbeth. Inyaki's much smarter at his age than I was at his age. And he has so much potential to go so much further than I ever did. And I want him to make that happen. I want to help make that happen for him.
The SHSAT is a very hard test. You have to prepare in a lot of ways just to be able to take the test.
New York City is a special place. It's not like the rest of America. You find your community, and your community shares your values with education. And so I don't feel challenged because I'm raising my kid in a community that supports culture and art and questions things.
I definitely get my motivation from my mom because she likes to know where she's going in life, and I find that that's a good thing to have because I always want to have a goal and strive to do something that I don't think I could do normally.
I think it's challenging to raise a kid in this country. You know, when you think it's the global world and everybody's going to be working together, and how do you educate a kid in America when the standards aren't that high?
My name is Inri. My favorite subject is math. I think mostly because I'm pretty good at it. It's not like writing, where you can display the answers in using different words and forms. In math, everyone has to get the same answer if it's the correct answer.
Henry is a special needs child since he was pre-K school. All the time he has an IP.
People basically reject me. I kind of first think about why they wouldn't, and then I actually notice that they don't have reason, so that actually makes me feel like there's probably like some stereotype that people have about me and stuff.
I feel like That's not gonna be happening. To get into over there at the Stuyvesant High School, one of the special high school, is very difficult, it's very tough. Many kids taking that test. Coming from this minority community, I don't know how prepared he's gonna be for that test.
You spend the next 4 years of your life in high school, and it's really important to know where you're gonna be.
He's prepared, and he has a shot. I'm just saying.
I know that he's gonna be entitled to have his
We should figure out how much time he's going to have. All right. Anybody else can't see from the back? So we have an equation, right?
It's sort of well known that there are certain neighborhoods that send virtually no kids to the specialized high schools. We wanted to take a look at that problem and get the help where it was needed.
We find that a pretty high concentration of kids offered admissions to the specialized high schools come from a relatively small percentage of feeder schools. A majority come from about 5% of the middle schools in New York City.
African American and Latino representation has been very low for a number of years. It's actually gotten worse in the last decade.
I think the specialized high school exam and the SAT exam really sort of shed light on a lot of the disparities that exist between white, Black, and Hispanic communities. It is not fair.
Everyone will have their opinions about the exam, but personally I think the SHSAT is an objective exam. It tests English and math. Basically tests skills that children have been learning since elementary school and junior high.
I just don't feel that our society should be so meritocratic that only people who are good at taking tests should have the best education. I think that's wrong. I think that we should offer a high-quality education to all kids.
We would need to discuss within DOE and within communities what the weighting of that looks like.
In some geographic districts in the city, there's issues with getting information out.
How many roughly?
So we're looking for multiple measures for this test. Portfolios, experience, their interviews, their writing ability, and all of that to make a composite picture and a more total picture. And we know that the Ivy League schools don't use that as a criteria for their acceptance to their schools, so we want to model that.
First day of sixth grade. So make it possible that they have some summer program at the end of sixth grade.
I think once you start to add subjective criteria, you're going to lose the objectivity in the test. And what will actually happen is it will hurt the communities that we're actually trying to help.
It's not about changing a test. It's about a competition. When you're in a competition, you prepare. You don't ask for special favors. You don't ask for quotas. You compete like everyone else, and you do well.
Colleges consider more than just test scores. They consider the whole thing. Why should the high schools be a different situation?
I'll tell you why. Because they're totally different. I'm sorry. They're totally different. Most of those colleges that you're talking about are considering how much money you make, how much money your father makes, whether you're going to be in a position to donate millions of dollars in the future to those schools. The idea that the Ivy League process is what we want in our city schools is an abomination. If you did that, it would be a question of how much money you have, how much political influence you have, and the best way to get into Harvard or Yale or Princeton today is become a fucking movie star. That's how you do it, and we're not interested in that.
WNYC was interested a few years ago in seeing who gets into the specialized high schools. We know that they're overwhelmingly white and Asian, but which neighborhoods are the kids coming from? And are they coming mostly from well-to-do neighborhoods? We found 3 zip codes in Brooklyn that were considered low income. They were among the top 20 feeder districts. It was in the largely Asian neighborhoods. When you go there, there are tons of test prep centers, and it's just normal for families to send their children to test prep starting in kindergarten or first grade. I met a Chinese family. Both parents worked in the garment industry. The family told me they made $25,000 a year. It cost about $5,000 a year to send their 3 children to test prep. That's a fifth of their income.
報咗名未啊？呢位家長？你喺邊度住啊？呢位家長？請問？ Okay, a lot of these kids, they do advanced preparation 2 to 3 years before they're actually tested. Once they enter to junior high school, they already do the long-term preparation. These specialized high schools, they offer these kids the opportunity to move up the economic ladder.
I think as an Asian American, I have mixed feelings about it. On one side, I absolutely understand the position that the NAACP is taking. Part of the issue is awareness, and I think that a lot of times in certain communities, the communities are unaware that the exam even exists or that these schools exist. But if you go into any Asian community in New York, I'm pretty sure that all of these communities know what these exams are because there's a history of students who have gone to these schools.
Welcome aboard. Make sure to listen to all the lessons of the teachers. Even though we recommend a minimum of 6 months of prep for the SHSAT, most of our students start anywhere from 12 to 15 months prior to the actual exam. Sure, take a lot of notes, please. That's the best way you gotta keep up. For the critics who claim that it's too much pressure for the students, it's not a mandatory exam. The students who are opting to take that challenge on and the families who are, it's all voluntary. How many of you guys are here because your parents said, hey, your cousin got in, or so-and-so got in? So if you want to get into Harvard, you have to work a lot, and you have to deal with a lot of pressure. I took the test.
I tend to look down on myself the most because I feel like I could do better. I'm so hard on myself because I want to like pay back my parents for all the work that they've done for me. So in my mind, that translates into getting a good job or getting a good education.
即係為了佢個學業咧，我本身我自己想讀書嘅，即係我個仔即係出咗世冇辦法，即係能夠幫到我個仔。
Most of my friends would describe me as like nerdy in a way. I don't tend to be very social. I usually tend to be one of the quieter kids in class. I think my lack of social skills will affect my future job process in a way that I might falter in interviews, but maybe have a good enough resume to get the job that I need.
People view us as like a model minority, that we're privileged, that we already have things in place. I honestly think it does our community a big disservice. A lot of our students are working class families. Again, the parents patch together 2 or more jobs just to be able to put food on the table and pay for education. So it really is a displaced and ignorant myth.
It's like harder, it's like more competition than used to. Especially kind of like Asian, they have really competitive. They do which school your children are, if you are not one of these special high school, they kind of
I'm in this prep school so I can get prepared for the exam that's gonna happen so soon. Even my teachers and Dyker Heights always tell me if you don't take a specialized prep, you won't be able to get a good grade on it. I said to my boss, I send my children have the Saturday school or do something for help them to get a better effort, and then my boss think I am like a witch. They are kids. They should enjoy their life. They should have fun with friends or TV or music, not just everyday school like this. I'm only doing this because my mom tells me to. If it wasn't, I'll be in my home, playing computer all day, wasting my life, and being a horrible person.
Even the teachers, when they know you are Asian, they treat you not really as good as white people. But now, I came here like over 25 years. I understand, you cannot just keep the mouth shut.
I don't have a fallback plan for any of this. If I don't get into a specialized high school, I don't know what to do about myself. My brother and my sister did it, so I'll feel like I'm less than them.
If the admissions policy is changed, let's say if they take away the test, I think it would rob a lot of the opportunities that these Asian American students have. They shouldn't be penalized for the hard work and the time that they put in outside of school.
Those of us who think and write about issues of race, the comparative is often, well, if immigrants can do it, why can't African Americans? As if the historical conditions under which these groups have come to this society are comparable, and they're not.
People will tend to say, well, everybody in America has it great. America has everything that you could possibly need. That's why I came to America. But America was not wonderful for African Americans. There are doors that are still closed.
And we talk about an achievement gap, right? But we don't think of it as a gap in opportunity. The achievement gap is nothing but an educational manifestation of social inequality. We think we can tackle it just by focusing on schools, rather than saying, oh no, we got to also do something about employment and wealth and health care and other things that impact young people.
Well, the kids in this neighborhood are definitely facing more challenges. This is one of the things we do here. We give them an environment where no matter what is going on in their lives, this becomes a focal point and the test becomes a goal.
A lot of peers that has told me, oh, skip class with me, don't go to school today, we can go to school second period. They can be in Stuyvesant Prep program with me. They got offered it, they threw the paper away. They threw a tantrum. They was just like, I'm not going to this stupid school. There's nobody I know there, all the way downtown. If you go to Stuyvesant, you're corny, you're whack. And I'm like, well, y'all can go to a bad school, a crappy graduation rate, while I go to a good school, and I'll see who's better in the future.
Kids who apply to Stuyvesant have to be strong. They have to say to themselves, I can do this alone. Because they're not taking their crew. They're not taking their friends. I've spoken to so many students. Please apply to Stuyvesant. Please, let's do the testing. No, Dr. Harvey, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. Why not? I want to go to school with my friends.
Growing up in this neighborhood, it's not very fun. I don't have much to do. I don't like a lot of the people around here, so they just do stupid things, get in trouble, I just keep to myself.
Keyshawn is gonna do some big things in this world. If he stay focused, I always tell him he has a big brain. It's just like being a superhero. With exceptional power comes great responsibility, and it's meant for him to bring something to this earth, and he needs to live up to that.
My hope for Keyshawn that he succeed at anything he want to be, that, he don't get off the right track, like hang out with the wrong crew, don't finish school, start getting locked up.
You know what really gets Keyshawn going?
All right, get out the kitchen. I've always told my sons since they were young, you was born with 2 strikes against you. Don't be dumb and make it 3. You were born black. You were born a black male. Don't be stupid, too.
When I grow up and have a family, I don't want them to have to, live in a place like this. So I want to get out of here. I don't know anybody that's going to Stuyvesant. I would be the first.
We try our best to serve the best interests of the student, but there's not always that trust on the other side that we're really working for their best interests. And that comes from a myriad of reasons, but mostly because they've been failed by other institutions in the past.
As a country, we have figured out how to systematically feed kids into a prison system, and we've also systematically been able to see how we can feed kids into elite athletic things. And one of the things that I believe we have not been able to figure out is how to find extraordinary diverse talent that just happens to be living in low-income and underrepresented communities.
If a kid shows promise in music or in sports, then what do? We try to get them coached. We try to get them extra lessons. Well, that's what we need to do academically with kids. We need to make sure they have enriched learning experiences in school and particularly summer and after school.
When I was growing up, each school had its own gifted and talented classes selected by teachers or other administrators in the school. In districts like where I grew up, District 29 in Queens, they determined that there were not enough children who tested high enough to continue to have gifted and talented programs in that particular district, so they all shut down.
One of the things that Mayor Bloomberg has done has been to close large public high schools, and many of those public high schools had a diversity of programs. They had programs for gifted kids, programs for English language learners, programs for kids with disabilities. And then when you break up that high school into 6 small schools, none of the small schools can have the advanced courses or any of the specialized offerings of the large one.
I was talking to a friend about this and saying, you know, these specialized schools are very segregated. And in Darren's case, I mean, having an African-American boy, he'd probably be one of a handful. I actually said, and you know, that's just not the way the world is. And he said, no, that's exactly the way the world is. And I thought, ugh.
I went to a high school that wasn't very diverse, and for me, it was somewhat of a distraction to achieving as much as I could. And I want Darren to go to a high school where he doesn't have that burden to deal with.
I feel like if you don't have a lot of diversity, you really feel weird in your situation, like you're the only person there and like everybody else is one race. I wouldn't rule out of school if it wasn't too diverse, but it's just that's diverse. 1% of the 100% of the school is my race. Like, I mean, that's a little outrageous.
The real problem is not that one ethnic group or another predominates at the specialized high schools. The problem is that so many Black and Hispanic kids are stuck in really terrible elementary and middle schools. And that's the reason that they're not getting into the specialized high schools.
Most inner city students are attending inner city schools, and with those schools you have overcrowding. You have students who don't have access to advanced courses, and if they do, sometimes the teachers for those courses aren't the best teachers out there. What you find is when you get to specialized exams, whether it be the SHSAT or the SAT, a lot of these students are struggling with content. So aside from just time management issues on the exam, it's really difficult to create a test prep environment if the student is not even ready for the test.
Black and Hispanic students are not performing as well as their white and Asian peers in terms of graduation rates, in terms of college readiness rates, and that is a statistic that can't be denied. It cannot be a matter of innate intelligence. There's something going on in neighborhoods, in communities, in schools that is causing some students not to have the opportunities that other students do.
The assumption is that Asian kids will do well in math or are going to be studious or going to be deferential to authority, etc. The opposite assumptions operate for African American Latino kids, that they're going to be less studious, they're going to be more likely to be defiant, disruptive, and discipline problems. And those stereotypes, they have a life of their own.
I can't tell you how many times I heard, probably from the age of 12 to now, you are the smartest Black person I know. And my response to that is, you haven't met all Black people. You haven't met all Hispanic people. You don't know. And there's an assumption that I either got someplace because of affirmative action-based things, or that I just sort of slid through the door.
Justin, what do you think of?
You're not distributing the first part, but the second part, you're distributing the negative sign.
Okay.
My name is Justin. I'm in the 8th grade. When I tell my friends that they need to prepare for the test, they tell me that it's no worry, it's like any other test. I put the 2 miles times the variable, so I put 30x plus 70x. I want to go to the specialized high schools because my mom has told me that she went to Bronx Science, and as I look at her job now, she's in good shape.
I would not in no way, shape, or form be okay with him going to a local school. I want him to go somewhere where it's safe and where he can do well, because he's a smart kid, so he needs to be somewhere where he's going to do well.
We do have some kids who are just really bright, and when they're all of a sudden in this environment, they are inspired to start working really hard. And All they have to do is do well on this test, and all of a sudden, you're in a whole new world.
X is bigger than Y, therefore the side...
You're in the best schools in the country because you did well on that test day, and you can forget poverty and all the other problems that you had because you're on a track to get out of that. There's this hope. There's this test and this gateway to a brighter future by going to these special schools.
Teachers should start giving the practice tests as soon as possible. Just make it fun. And just like when my daughter gets home from ballet, I'm like, do a practice test and then you get a macaroon. Like, just do it.
I think this test helps me prepare for the SATs, and it also helps me prepare just being able to sit in a room for a long period of time and read stuff and work out problems in your head and on a piece of paper.
I do drive her really hard, but once I set up the circumstance, she drives herself harder than I drive her. If I don't set it up, she doesn't rise to the occasion.
I think I have to spend less time on the computer and more time studying because I think the test's gonna be easy. But because of that, I'm not gonna study. If I don't study, I'm not gonna get a good grade. So I have to waste some time on the studying part of the test. I feel confident, yeah, but it's like, I felt confident I was gonna go to Christa McAuliffe, but then I had a small amount of points less than I need to, so I didn't go there. So confidence isn't always the way to go.
My kids, I hope they love me. I'm a very strict Jewish tiger mom. I actually went to a Plus Academy and they called me Tiger Mom. And coming from Asian people, if they called me Tiger Mom, I told them no, I'm a step up above the Tiger Mom. I'm a Jewish Tiger Mom because I'm making sure they love me and appreciate me.
There's a lot of pressure about Stuyvesant, but that's not really my first choice. I wanted to go to Staten Island Tech because it's not as much pressure as Stuyvesant, basically, and it's not going to be like 4 years of torture.
We started from zero. We had to work so hard to get to where we are. And my kids are not starting at zero. They are starting someplace else. And on one hand, I want to give them an easier life than the one that I had. On the other hand, I should be able to force them to work for it. So I'm at the constant struggle. Am I giving them enough or am I giving them too much?
Usually around September, you start to see a pop in their scores. And some of the kids, that's happening right now. They're starting to get the hang of the test and they're figuring it all out. Some kids really focus when they're in the home stretch. And some kids not so much. You know, they're still 12-year-olds. At the end of the day, some of them cope with the pressure well and some of them don't.
Hello?
Hi, Charlene, it's Mike Massetti.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh my God, is he doing something wrong? Because I will kill him.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about his, I graded his latest test. You want to sit down for a second? Justin is a great kid. He's very bright. I spoke to him recently about his verbal score, and he said to me, I don't like the verbal section. It's boring. And that's the kind of attitude that really worries me at this point, because it's a test that's designed for only 5,000 or so people to pass. So it's designed for 23,000 people to fail it. And I worry that he's not hungry for it at this point. He doesn't have his pen and paper out. He's not taking notes sometimes. And I wonder if he's, you know, what his mindset is. I think he thinks that he's just going to, you know, that he's a smart kid, which he is, and he's just going to, yeah.
I told him the other day he's so cocky, and I told him it's disgusting because you cannot rest on that.
Yeah.
You don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, trust me, I'm aware, and I'm going to kill him.
Hey, what are you doing?
My homework.
What kind of homework?
Spanish.
Oh, okay. You have a test?
During the process of preparing for the SAT, she still had to keep up with her work. I found that she was slacking off just a little bit, and I was on her. And she wrote me a letter. Please understand that I'm human.
What helped me deal with was friends who were going through the same thing as me. It was stressful.
So I had to take a step back because I was putting a lot of pressure on her.
I really want to cook tonight. I don't think he want.
When Keyshawn said he wanted to take the test for the specialized high school, I was really happy. We expected it. We've been speaking about this since Keyshawn was like in the 6th grade.
I wanted to make spaghetti. I had spaghetti for lunch, dinner, and breakfast.
It doesn't bother me that much that there's not that many African Americans that go to this Stuyvesant because I've been practicing for it for a long time, and I feel like my odds of getting in it just as good as anyone else's.
We don't have a lot of income, but I try to take my kids to see a lot of things. I speak with them a lot about socially conscious issues. I don't think the test focuses on that. It doesn't focus on real life experience.
I've been studying ever since Eve. I've been studying all summer, especially today. I just took a practice test, I timed myself to make sure that I would have. Dress? Not in that dress. I was at school, so.
Repeat the question.
You got an email. How do you feel that you did not pass?
Yeah, I left some questions blank when I was taking the test.
Why? Were you rushing?
Yeah, there was not time left.
Some people say it was easy, some people say it was okay. So I kind of took it as a positive test, I would just take it and pass. But then when I was taking the test, I realized it was kind of hard for me.
Do you want to take the test? Let's see.
Don't. You're gonna fail anyway.
Yeah, of course I am. No, she won't. Not if she practices.
My father spent $3,000 for that. I'm not.
3,000.
Since my parents don't really know that much English, they will let me do my own things. As I've told my mom before, this test not only determines what high school I go to, but also what colleges I might get accepted into and what jobs I might get. I don't really talk to my friends much about the test. The only thing we really talk about is a countdown to the test because we're all waiting for that day where our fate will be decided.
I was just going over with Inri some problems, and he saw some things in the math problems that we were doing that I hadn't seen before. And after doing this for 7 years, to see a new twist on a problem, a new way of looking at the process, I realized his reasoning skills are really sharp. And so that compounded with the fact that he wasn't finishing the test, I realized we have to get him some extra time.
I've been talking to the school to get the extra time for the SAT. I'm keeping calling, and calling. They have all of the documents that they need, but at this time, we don't have any answer yet.
If I don't take the IP, triple time, I'll end up not finishing the test and then I'll get a bad grade on it. But if I do finish the test, I'll end up really getting a really good grade. But the thing is, I don't really like to set myself aside from other people.
If Ingrid doesn't get accommodation, mother, I'm not gonna put him in that place to get that type of frustration. It doesn't make sense to take the test if you don't have enough time to complete the test.
Andre, he has a very smart brother. He always compare. Brother is smarter, and then I'm just like a small potato. I said, sweetheart, you is you. Your brother is your brother. There is no comparison.
My mom always says, whatever you do, it's okay, I still love you. But like, I know she still wants me to go to one of these good schools. She doesn't say it directly, but I can like feel that she wants me to do it, so I will do it.
I go to a pretty intelligent school. Most of my peers are big nerds, including me. The attitude around me, many people expect to do well.
The specialized high schools are not for everyone. And there's a reason why Bronx Science is a bunch of Nobel Prize laureates. I mean, those kids are smart. Does he want to be in an environment where everyone around him is smarter, okay, and grasping things much quicker, or in a way that he's struggling? I don't know.
Yesterday, I asked my mom a question about some math problem I had trouble with, and she asked me if it was for SHSAT. I told her yes, and she said, call one of your friends, because I can't help you. So it's hard math, it's hard English.
My parents' reaction is like the most important thing that's worrying me right now. Wait, Nana's it the show Zamba?
সবাই জানে সবাই চায় যে তুমি ভালো করতে
It's gonna be tough if I don't pass.
I do not like them.
I will mess your eyebrow off and cut it all out. Do whatever you did, because now it looks like she got 2 different eyebrows.
She do.
I thought she should just put all her hair up in one
Eyebrows shouldn't be
ponytail.
the same. Eyebrows are sisters, not twins.
I'm reconsidering going to a specialized high school, but I like how it's a better choice for me, because I want to change like a lot of things that's going on, like because it's not very diverse in that school, but I don't know if it's a good school for me, education-wise.
So anyway, Laurel, I got back your receipt, and I was surprised to see that you wrote no next to the SHSAT requested. So is this a new decision? Yeah. When did you decide that you didn't want to take the test?
Not so long ago.
I'm comfortable taking you off the list if your mom would like you to take the test. I mean, I could always give you the ticket, and you could always decide not to go. Or I could call mom and talk about it. If she does she think you're doing it?
And I told her I don't think I am, and she just said, you never know, and just try to.
So she would really like you to do it?
Yeah.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep you on the list and give you a ticket when it's time for the ticket. If you take the test and you don't get in, you can say, well, all right, well, now when the PSATs come and the SATs come when I'm looking at college, this will be easy for me because I've practiced taking long, hard tests. You know, it's just something to get under your belt. But I don't want you, I mean, it should not make you feel somehow less than if you don't get in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's making you feel apprehensive? You don't really want to continue with the course?
It's hard to maintain the grades when I don't understand them, and I don't understand. I sit in the back and I get distracted and I try to push, but it's hard for me.
Well, that's another thing.
Me, I can't sit in the classroom for that long and focus. I just zone out. It's hard.
What's hard?
The whole high school process. Picking 12 high schools, trying to get to the top of the list, and it's hard. And it's harder for me, especially because I didn't do so good in my 7th grade year. So I had to push harder to.
Well, we told you that in 7th grade, right? She seems to be a little frightened to move on to the next step. Well, you'll be able to hang with your friends and do this and do that and the other, but your priority has to be your education, as you know.
I know.
Hopefully I can turn her around now that she gave me that information and let her know that she's not alone in this. Everybody's out here to help her, and she can do it. You have to put your mind to it.
I've heard complaints and I've heard just shock as well with the level of work that they have to commit to. And it's a good conversation to have with the student. Like, yes, that is the level of work that you need to commit to if you want to get into a high school like Stuyvesant.
Students who leave the program are doing this just because they feel as if it's just too much work. They have no experience. Nobody else in their family has ever done this. There no context, no reference point, and it's just so hard for a teacher to explain the benefits.
I spoke to Justin's mom, and she wanted him to retake the test. She wanted him to focus and work hard on the verbal section so we could get a true reading of what he needs to work on. You ready? Come on, sit right, get ready. Come on, get into it.
There's 17 days left until the SHSET, and I'm really nervous because there's not a lot of time, and there's still so much stuff that I haven't learned yet. I'm grounded because the first test, we found it really boring and we wanted to make fun of it. So the people that we were fooling around with got low grades, and I was one of them, so I got in trouble.
Doing this, they did this?
My mom pushing me feels very annoying because I have her like on my back all the time. She wants my potential to be higher than what it really is, but yet it's also helping me because that means that I have to push my potential farther and I have to reach those standards.
I'm actually feeling pretty confident. Well, I'm not taking the test. So all I have to do is get him up and get him down there.
So when I'm over with the SHSAT, I will burn my book in the middle of the night in the backyard with candles and no adult supervision.
This is what it looks like, all right?
The test is next week, and it's stressful because I have no idea how Justin is going to do. He did feel pressured because I went to Bronx Science, and I was telling him that I wanted him to go there. I'd be so proud. So I've kind of changed my tune with that, and I have told him that any specialized high school that he gets to is great and is wonderful, just to give him a little bit more leeway to feel comfortable that he can, any one of those high schools that he gets to is fantastic. I mean, I still wanted him to go to Bronx Science, but, you know, anyone is fantastic. I just want him to feel good and go into the test feeling relaxed.
The amount of time the test is, it might seem long, but like, if you get stuck on something and you have to skip it, those points could be like the deciding factor. Are you going to get to this school or not?
I feel kind of nervous, even though Mike says that we're ready for the test. I'm gonna ask Mike for some extra sessions, if he could just have another session with me.
I'm nervous, but I think I'm ready. I'm ready to tackle it, and I think I'll do good because the tests here were supposed to be harder than the real test. I think I'm ready. I think I can do it.
I'm mostly just like doing lots of practice tests to prepare. I don't have like a tutor or anything that's helping me get prepared, but I'm certainly trying to be ready for the test.
I'm pretty nervous, actually, but I'm hoping that what I've done is good enough to get me in.
I'm nervous, like I'm thinking about all the bad things. I always do that, like am I gonna fail it, or what if I make a careless error, because I seem to do that a lot. So I'm pretty nervous.
You have to just try to keep calm and focused on what you're doing. Just try to eliminate any type of outside distractions or annoyances.
Well, to be frank, most people in my school think they'll get into Stuyvesant because of its great reputation, but in my head, I know that most of them probably won't make it, but I never share my feelings because that would be rude.
Quiet down, all right? Look, you've got a lot of competition, and they're spending every day. I've got some of your classmates. I had a kid, I took the books off of him the other day because he's working so hard on this test that his brain got fried, all right? I'd said, you need to relax. You need to watch a movie and relax a little bit, all right? He emails me at 11 o'clock at night with questions on this problem. Those are the kinds of kids that you're competing with across the city, and those are the kids that are going to get into Stuyvesant and Bronx Science, all right? All right? If you can't be bothered to show up on free sessions, okay, you're not going to make it, all right? So there's a lot of pressure at this point in the year, personally. I mean, this is a 7-day-a-week thing for me at the moment. Right up until the day of the test, it's not going to be a break for me. Kids are either going to get into a school that they're happy with or they're not. We're sort of in this together at this point. And I'm going to sleep pretty well on October 28th, I tell you.
It's a lot of pressure on the kids to do well. His friends told him yesterday it was pretty easy. So I think easy is actually bad because it means that a lot of kids would do well. So they're hoping the harder test is actually better.
I think he just wants to get it over with. Whatever happens, happens, you know? If you weren't prepared 3 months ago, not much is going to change in the interim.
The test was quite easy. I got like a few questions wrong, but I know I did, and I'm gonna accept it.
Whatever you got, okay? I'll always appreciate what you got.
I am relieved. I need to pee because, you know, no bathroom breaks or anything, and I didn't want to waste my time. But yeah, I'm relieved. We don't have to study anymore. You know, just wait for your letter.
Now that the exam was over, I'm gonna relax and try not to think about the test.
Oh, the SHSAT was actually really easy. Definitely not like I expected. I mean, but I mean, like, it was actually sort of easier than some like the state tests we had last year.
It was really hard because it was like in the beginning of the math section, it was like super easy and you're like, yay, I'm gonna get through this. And then like when you got around like question like 63, 64, you're just like, what in the world? And it gets extremely hard. And then like, so then I got nervous. I had to guess on like 10 questions.
I actually didn't take the test, mainly because my mother talked to my niece who went through that process of applying to Stuyvesant, and she told my mother how hard it was and how she doesn't like want to waste my time and doesn't want to see me down and depressed if I don't get in. So she just sat with me and said, don't even try going.
This is a problem in middle school. It's not just Laurel, it's not Stuyvesant Prep. If you ask any middle school student, do you want to go to a good high school? Of course. What does it take to get there?
For my non-specialized high schools, I have no idea where they are. My mom picked them, and I'm really worried if I actually get into one of them.
Oh, God. Oh. Choosing regular high schools was really difficult. For the high school application, I had my mom's help. Well, she chose the first 2 high schools for me, and I chose the rest. She wanted my big sister and I to be together.
Well, I definitely don't want to go to a school that's too big, because that seems overwhelming, and I definitely don't want to go to a school that is too easy. So it's going to have to be in between. Small enough that I get enough attention individually from the teachers so they can help me, but big enough so that I can learn from other students that are there.
With the specialized high school stuff behind us, we have to start the private school application process, getting recommendations, writing essays, prepping for the Catholic school test. We've got a road trip coming up to tour boarding schools. I think I've got everything on the calendar and I'm organized.
I'm kind of debating whether or not that or Stuyvesant would be better than me because I'm hoping to get into a career in computer programming, and I feel like a technology school would be best for that.
Even if he did get accepted into those schools, I don't think he would want to stay. The children in those schools are not from the same type of environment Keyshawn is from. It's like when he got accepted to the Prep 9 program, he really liked the academia of it, but he did not like the other aspects of it.
Iñaki has checked out for the most part since high school application season is done. Like, he has no interest in doing like the homework. There are times when he's just like, he doesn't want to do the projects, which were a big chunk of his grade. That's the part that really stresses me out.
Do you feel like you're thinking outside the box, or do you feel like you're just feeling?
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like
You just feel like
it's just too much, like trying to control everything. Like you must write this exactly here. It's just too much. You can't really control all that. It's too much system.
I think Iñaki is questioning education and how he fits into it. I think Iñaki is looking at his place in his world, which is middle school and his friends and our neighborhood, and asking, where do I fit in? I have those same questions. I have those same questions about my life, you know?
I am very grateful to my family, who's always with me and supports me in everything that I do. My twin sister, Carrie, who has been by my side for 13 years.
For the last couple of months, my brother was very nervous. He thought that this test decided the next 4 years of his life, so he studied very hard. I decided not to take the SHSAT. At first, I thought maybe I'll try it out, but then I realized that the SHSAT was more of a math and science, and I wasn't good at those subjects, and I thought, why would I want to fail in those schools when I could be a great student in other schools?
I've been always dreaming about this. Ever since I've heard about the school, I always said I wanted to go to Stuyvesant. I told my mom not to put any other choices.
Right now, Henry, he's about to fail in the grade. Henry, we don't know if he has to go on to the summer program because he's failing some of the class. It's not because he not learning. It's not because he can't. It's just because he's a special needs child, that he has some type of accommodation, he has some resource that is in an IEP that the school doesn't comply with the IEP.
Save your own group, guys. Okay, mixed up. Yeah, okay.
Seeing a child pursue a dreams and have the dreams in their mind every single day, sometimes it's scary for the parents because if the results come in negative, I had to be prepared for the moment. How am I going to support him? How am I going to help him? And see it another path.
Talking about I'm never gonna find a man like you. You must be twisted. You must not know about
So
me.
we just took the SHSAT a couple weeks ago, and so that's finally over. And now I have an audition for LaGuardia.
I learned to live half a life.
And just a little nervous because I know there's a lot of competition between LaGuardia because it's such a well-known school.
Janae has not ever had a singing lesson. So I told her that she's going up against a lot of kids that are more prepared. And she told me she had nothing to lose. I'm gonna let her go. I've come this far.
Whoa, Janae!
Jermaine! Hi. Hi.
Okay.
What is this?
When I first opened the letter, I didn't really read it. I just saw ST and then a Y in high school. But when I just screamed out Stuyvesant, and everyone just started clapping. Some people were crying.
Yay! Oh my gosh!
My baby girl has been accepted to Brooklyn Tech. I'm ecstatic. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yay!
I feel like the future has a lot to hold because, like, now I know I got into a school and I know that my hard work paid off.
This year we got 40 to 50% of the kids into a specialized high school. We're very happy with those results. We started the program a little bit late, might impact the numbers, and I think it did a little bit because we got 68% of our kids in the year before. But I am happy we focused more this year on the regular high school admissions, and a lot of the kids made it into some really great screened high schools. We had 3 kids this year who didn't make it into any high school, and so they're going to go on to round 2.
What I'm looking forward to in Stuyvesant is the new classes that it offers, as well as the football program, which I'm planning to try out for. But what I'm not looking forward to at Stuyvesant is probably my lack of sleep for the next 4 years and a decent amount of homework.
When I opened the letter, I prayed to God that it was a specialized high school and that was Stuyvesant. When I looked it, I screamed and my friend just looked at me. I was like, I started to shout, yeah, Stuyvesant, yay, like that.
This year, we're very proud of our results. Out of 110 or so students, we have about 85 who gain acceptances into the specialized high schools. It's actually one of our all-time highs.
Just in case, you know, he lost it or what, I still have one. What do you mean?
I think to achieve a result like this, to get into one of these specialized high schools, you need some pressure. You need to put in hard work and time.
This is the letter that I received from the schools telling me that I get into Staten Island Tech and Goldstein, which are both my top choices. I'm super excited about that, and I think it's great.
I mean, I'm still a little worried for him because he is going to a different high school than me, and I might not always know what's going on. I'm acting like his mother.
I feel that she's not my mom, and that she has to learn to get away from me and worry about herself.
Ari and Perry studied very hard. They worked very hard. My job is to give them the best start, and my job is to push them in the right direction. It's up to them to finish their own stories.
I don't really know anybody that got into a bad school or didn't get into a school they wanted to go to. So I think everyone that I know handled it really well.
I'm really proud of Iñaki, and I couldn't be more thrilled. And I'm so excited that he gets to do what he wants to do. That's the point of working hard. You do what they ask of you, then they have no reason to tell you no. You've just built up your argument to get the yes, and he got the yes.
I have a bit of a changed attitude after that, now that I'm gotten into my schools. I think education is important, but I don't think it's so important that you need to be in school for the first 21 years of your life. You know, it just seems like overkill.
The day we got our letter, you could feel the tension in the room. Everyone's like, ooh, ooh. And so then we all, after she passed out the letters, she said go, and everyone started opening them, and you could hear the ripping of envelope. Some people shouted, started crying tears of joy or happiness. I started yelling and jumping and dancing around, and everyone was bragging, which is expected.
No, I don't think I would do anything differently. I mean, I think we over-prepared, I over-researched, but I didn't want to find myself in a position where we didn't get something good, and I said, if only I could have.
At first, when I opened the letter, I was like hoping for Beacon. I was a little disappointed to see I hadn't gotten it, but then I thought I saw Lab, and I was like, okay, that's still pretty good. I'm still happy with this.
To be honest with you, there is still a part of me that feels a sense of responsibility that maybe I should have prepped him more or helped him be prepared so that he could be one of those students to boost those numbers. And yet, I also feel like, but that wouldn't have been a good place for him.
What about you, Farjana?
Honor school.
Which is?
Young Women's Leadership.
How do you feel about that?
While studying, I was conflicted about whether getting into a specialized high school was for me, or was it not? Would I be better off in a regular high school?
Moment.
How you feel? I know that wasn't your number one.
Farjana, you want to sit in my office?
I tried talking to my sisters, but if you talk to somebody, in my case, nobody listens. I'm just the listener. I felt so lost that I couldn't tell anyone in school. It just felt weird. The thing I learned the most from this process was to basically not give up. If you have a goal, you have to have a plan, or else it just becomes a wish. For the SHSAT, I basically had a goal, but then I couldn't continue it. But now moving on, I know to have a plan, and I know not to give up. I know to move forward and to accomplish my goals in the future.
Really? You can't get in the house? In the house. Yeah. This is
A letter.
duh. I know it's a late. You always got this. You got accepted to the one you wanted to go to.
I chose High Zone because I felt like a technology-based school would best suit what I want to do. I want to be a computer programmer or a web designer when I get older. I feel like the prep program was really good because even if I didn't pass the SHSAT, I still got into a good high school that I wanted, and I still was able to get ahead of the work in classes that I'm taking now in middle school.
You happy? Congratulations. I believe in a higher power, and that's just where he needed to be, where he needs to be now in life. So I just have faith things gonna work out the best for him.
I don't think I would do anything differently, to be honest. I'd be like, I want to take the test and I want to do great in life and whatever, but then it's like, I don't want to take the test because I don't want to be disappointed. So I just took, like I said, not to take the test to save myself from disappointment.
The experience was good for her, though. It opened her eyes to a lot. Even though she didn't take the test for Stuyvesant, it was a good experience for her. She wouldn't have known anything about it if she didn't have the opportunity of going regularly to the school to at least examine it, compare it to where she is now, and see what the future could bring.
A little bit sad that for the program that I run, we didn't get any students into the specialized high school. So that's a sad day, and it leads me to reflect on ways that we can make this program better.
Everybody understand what I'm saying? So it's resources. A lot of it is. And the expectation is they're going to these schools.
At the end of the day, I mean, the Black and the Hispanic community is right to be concerned about what's going on and how few are getting into these schools. The proponents of the test are right to be concerned about, education, what it'll do to the schools if the test is eliminated or additional criteria are added. So, when everybody's right to some degree, it's very difficult to figure out, now, what's the right thing to do?
In terms of improving the system for everyone and all of the communities getting together on this issue, I really think requires understanding each other's hardships that each one of us has to go through. I think we can find common ground.
Well, I think probably the most important thing is for people to see this as an American issue, an American problem, not as a Black problem or a Latino problem. I think that's the way we typically see it. And because of that, there's really no urgency around addressing it, even though it's so clear that it has implications for our whole country.
What is important is that there is no way we can include our students if we don't make the effort. Let's make the effort. Let's identify the students who can do this. Let's put the resources behind it, and let's see. Because we can sit all day long and complain about lack of diversity, or we can do something about it.
I can describe it, how I feel. I was in the train today, and still I was just thinking about it. And then I feel like it does kind of emotion that come from my heart, and I say, the only one. That made me feel really very proud. My dream for my son all the time is get an education. When you have an education, you have all of the door open.
No one would actually believe that this kid actually got into Stuyvesant. But then again, it's actually made a big difference. I can tell my story to other kids. So they just have to believe in themselves.